What is good, people? Welcome back to another video on 8 Count. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you my picks for UFC Fight Night, SANDHAGEN versus Song Yadong. This is a really fun Fight Night card, and I can't wait to give you my picks for it. But before we get into the video, please leave me a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the upcoming content. I've just uploaded my video for Canelo versus Triple G3, the trilogy. I'll give you my thoughts around the fight and my prediction, so be sure to go and check that out if you enjoy your boxing. And let's get straight into this one, guys. Super fun card. It's got a ton of like really just, fun fights on it. So I think we should probably just start with the main event, which is really fun. I mean, Song Yadong is a guy who a lot of people are raving about in the UFC. He's picked up some pretty decent wins along the way to the position that he's in now. If we look at his past fights, a big win over Marlon Moraes, Arce, and Kelly. So, there's 3 big victories in his last 3. I think his last defeat, yes, was against Kyler Phillips, who is a fighter who I really like to watch. He's a really good fighter on the eye, got a bunch of skills. Song Yadong did get a win over Marlon Chito Vera, as you may have remembered, which was a very, very dodgy decision, which, probably should have gone the way of Marlon Chito Vera. Against Corey Sandhagen, though, I think he should probably be the underdog, which he is. Sandhagen for me is one of the top fighters for me to watch just in general in terms of MMA, and in terms of the bantamweight division, he's definitely up there with the best of them. He's coming off a defeat against Jan and Dillashaw, which is really unfortunate. I think the Jan fight was, kind of proof that he was just a step too far in terms of his career. He took a leap just too far. Jan was just better than him pretty much everywhere in terms of the fight. You saw that Sandhagen probably took the first 2 rounds, but as soon as Jan put it on him, it was a really tough night for him. Against Dillashaw, I would beg to differ. I think he actually won that fight. It was definitely a close one, but Dillashaw got the win on his return. But before that, you're seeing amazing KO finishes for him against the likes of Frankie Edgar and Marlon Moraes. Before that, he did have that defeat to the champ, Aljamain Sterling, in which was a super quick rear naked choke finish for him. In terms of this fight, I'm a big fan of Sandhagen. I think he's really talented. I do think sometimes he does a lot for the sake of doing a lot, and maybe he could tone that down so he's a bit more, when he is being active, he's doing it for a reason. I think his footwork is amazing, but like in the Jan fight, he's using a lot of extra energy to not really pull himself away from Jan in sort of, taking the fight away from him. I think, if he can get to the stage where he's a lot more economic in terms of his style, where he can, if he's going to go with this footwork sort of style, he's going to make it work for him and he's going to win big in the end. I'd like to see that. In terms of his grappling, he's very underrated there as well. I remember the one fight, quite a while back it seems like now, but he was put in some really tough positions in terms of like arm bars and that, and, escaped really well. In terms of his top position, he looks decent, and in terms of his scrambling, he's also really good. Song Yadong, on the other hand, carries a lot of power. Sandhagen's going to have to be very wary of that. But my problem with Song Yadong is going to actually come in the footwork. I feel like Sandhagen's just got too much for him. He's going to be able to pull him onto the shots which he likes. In terms of this being 5 rounds, I do kind of wonder about how this looks. I believe that Corey Sandhagen can get him out of there early. But if it does go a bit later, can Song Yadong, kind of take use of the fact that Sandhagen does work a lot harder than most guys in terms of, he's doing a lot more extra footwork and throwing a lot more extra strikes. Can he take advantage of that and kind of, go after a slightly more fatigued version of Corey Sandhagen down the stretch? It's definitely going to be interesting. In my opinion, I'm going to go for a finish here for Corey Sandhagen. I think he gets it done in the 2nd round. Some sort of KO, TKO finish. I think, his kicking game's definitely underrated, and, he can set that up so many different ways in terms of the way he's able to set up his hands and his feet. You've seen the way he's able to walk people onto flying knees in the past. Super dangerous. I'm going to go Corey Sandhagen, round 2, TKO, KO. We move on to Shidi Injawakani versus Gregory Robocop Rodriguez. Shidi Bang Bang is certainly a very talented fighter from what we've seen of him inside the UFC octagon so far. 2 finishes in his first 2 fights. against Gregory Rodriguez, who was kind of fought a lot of different people and had mixed results. But overall, I'd say he's been quite successful in the UFC. He's often a fighter who's kind of overlooked because he just looks really old, in my opinion. But in terms of his style, he's definitely very dangerous, carries a lot of power. I think in his last fight against the Cuban Missile Crisis, he kind of showed that he is willing to put himself in those dangerous positions in order to get a finish. In terms of this fight, I think that could, pay in the favour of Shitty Bang Bang Njokuani and kind of, he could get caught. But I'm actually going to go for Gregory Rodriguez finish here. I think he's got, it's tough to say, but I think he's just got that gritty style, which could make it really hard for Njokuani, sort of like down the stretch. I'm sure Njokuani's got the power to kind of turn the lights off on Rodriguez. I wonder if Rodriguez can make him work more and, maybe even get a finish late on. But if not, I'm going to go for a decision for Gregory Rodriguez. We move on to Andre Touchy-Feely against Bill Algeo. I'm a big fan of Bill Algeo, so it's going to come to no surprise that I'm going to pick him in this fight. I think Andre Feely's just had such a mixed run in the UFC, and I'm kind of surprised he's the favourite in this fight. I think in terms of who needs this win most, it's definitely Andre Feely. But for me, I think Algeo is just a little bit better everywhere. Maybe in the wrestling department, you can kind of go with Andre Feely. But I think Bill Algeo showed against, I forgot the name, Gilbert Burns' brother, that, his jiu-jitsu game is extremely strong. You saw how calm he was in, situations where he was kind of against it. And when he was able to get through those situations, he's very dominant on top. On the feet, he's very creative. I think he's going to give Andre Feely a load of problems. I think we could see a situation where Bill Algeo gets kind of, upper hand on Feely in terms of striking, and Feely looks to take this one down. And, I could see him getting caught in some sort of potentially a Darce choke or anaconda from that sort of sprawl position. I'm going to go with Bill Algeo for a finish here in round 2. I'm going to go for submission. Joe Pfeiffer against Alan Amedowski. I can't give you a pick on this, guys. I haven't seen enough of either guy. I saw Joe Pfeiffer's loss inside the Contender Series where he was going for a guillotine and he kind of had to bail out because the guy went for a slam and he broke his arm. And for Amedowski, I just haven't seen enough. Tanner Boser against Roger Nascimento Ferreira. Definitely an interesting fight. I think Rodrigo is definitely going to bring it to Tanner Boser, but I think Tanner Boser is going to show us a lot in this fight. I think he's going to go back to the sort of style which made him kind of a bit of a fan favourite on his rise, in which he, very dogged, but he's got a good jab and he's able to keep himself safe while putting his opponents in harm's way. I'm going to go for a Tanner Boser win here. I'm going to go for a first round finish. I could see this one either going for a finish for either guy or even potentially a decision, but I'm going to go with Tanner Boser. Anthony Hernandez versus Marc-Andre Barriault. Anthony Hernandez is a guy who, when I think of him, all I can think of is the Rodolfo Vieira fight, in which he was such a huge underdog and he was able to pull it out and submit one of the best jiu-jitsu players in the world. Marc-Andre Barriault, I always struggle to say his surname. He's been in a ton of fights inside the UFC. He's got wins here and there. And he's the underdog in this fight, which I'm kind of surprised with because he just does have a little bit more experience than Anthony Hernandez, especially inside that UFC octagon. But I'm going to go with Fluffy here. I think Anthony Hernandez, in terms of on the feet, I think he's shown he's creative enough to, work opportunities for his finishing. I think he's probably just the looser of the two. And I think if this does go into a grappling exchange, he's shown that he's dangerous enough, if not necessarily to submit, maybe to push Andre from, off the top of him and, get back into distance. I'm going to go with Hernandez to get a win here via decision. Damon Jackson versus Pat Sabatini. I like Pat Sabatini, but I'm going to do what I never do, and I'm going to pick Damon Jackson. I never pick him because he doesn't look like a fighter. He looks like someone's dad. So I'm going to pick him in this fight just because I think he's proven that in the past. His jiu-jitsu is very, very strong. In terms of the feet, he's a bit raw. I'm just going to go with Damon Jackson to get a submission win here. I'm going to go round 1 to submission Damon Jackson. I probably, in my head, I don't think it's actually going to happen. I think Pat Sabatini is probably just better. of a fighter, but I always pick against Damon Jackson, so I'm going to go for him. Trevin Giles, sorry, against Lewis Kosey. I think Lewis Kosey's got a brother, right? Good wrestlers. I think Giles is just a bit better, especially on the feet. I think Giles will give him problems. Lewis Kosey, I think it's his brother as well, who I might be thinking of, but his brother was definitely a bit, I guess you could say, load up heavy, like loading up on every shot. Got tired very quickly. I think Trevin Giles is going to make Lewis work, though. I think in terms of the striking, Giles is a lot looser. You know, can he get Lucy to shoot in bad situations and put himself in harm's reach, I guess you could say? I think that's definitely a possibility. I'm going to go with Trevin Giles to get a finish here in round 2. Aspen Ladd versus Sarah McMahon. Aspen Ladd was a fighter who had such huge sort of momentum going through the division and then kind of just fell short against the Iron Maiden. What's her name? I can see her, Jermaine Durandamy. You know, when that fight happened. Sarah McMahon, on the other hand, she's been here for a while. Her striking has improved, but not to the level where she's really able to stand with anyone. Her game plan is going to get to get the takedown and end up on top position, where she does have, you know, extremely good chokes in terms of she's so strong for the division, extremely jacked. She's the underdog in this fight against Aspen Ladd, which is probably right. I think Aspen Ladd is probably just a bit better at, you know, dictating, you know, the control of the fight. But for some reason in my head, I can see Sarah McMahon getting her down and getting her with either some sort of arm triangle or just riding her out for all 3 rounds. I'm going to go with Aspen Ladd, though, to get a decision, just because that's the way I really feel. Denise Gomez versus Loma Lookbonmi. Sorry, I'm very bad with my pronunciation, especially when I haven't seen a fighter a ton. I have seen Loma fight before, though, I do believe. She's quite impressive. I see she's the underdog here against Denise Gomez, who I cannot put a face to. So I'm going to leave this fight, but certainly should be interesting. Trey Ogden versus Daniel Zalhuber. I'm guessing Daniel's someone off the Dana White Contender Series. Haven't seen him enough, so I'm going to skip this fight. Maria Agapova versus Gillian Robertson. I have seen these 2 girls fight. Gillian Robertson is the favourite in this fight, which I'm actually kind of surprised with. You know, she is reliant upon her jiu-jitsu quite heavily. So to be a favourite, I'm quite surprised. I'm actually going to go with Agapova. I do think if she does get in those jiu-jitsu sort of positions for Robertson where she's able to throw the legs up, she could be in trouble, but I believe she's just too reliant upon the submission, in my opinion. I'm going to go with Agapova to get the win. Tony Gravely, he's an underdog against Javid Basharat. I'm going to go with Tony Gravely to get a win. I think in terms of the grappling, he's kind of got a decent wrestling game, but I think his hands is where he probably picks up the advantage here. I'm going to go with Tony Gravely, TKO round 2. Nicholas Motta against Cameron Van Camp. Seen Van Camp, and I cannot picture myself seeing Motta before. But because I have seen Van Camp, I'm going to pick against him just because I wasn't that impressed. But thank you for watching, guys. Let me know your pick, especially for the main event. Corey Sandhagen taking on Song Yadong in a really important fight in terms of the bantamweight division. I love 135, man. I love just that sort of area in general. Sort of lighter weights, anywhere from 145 downwards. In terms of combat sports, not only MMA, you know, it's a real hot spot for talent. And in terms of the UFC, I don't understand how people are still saying 155 is the best weight division. I think 35 has been clear of it for some time now. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below there, guys. Thank you for watching. Be sure to go check out my Canelo Triple G prediction, which is already up on the channel if you haven't seen it already. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next week where I'll be giving you my reaction to this fight night and Canelo vs Triple G 3. Peace out, guys. Have a great weekend.